So the biggest challenge I faced in my first year in Japan was being the smartest guy in the room. Because lesson one, the culture doesn't owe you an explanation. Japan's been around for thousands of years before you arrived. It'll be here long after you leave. You're not here to fix things or point out what's wrong. And as Westerners, we're all about making our dent in the universe and tend to take ourselves a little too seriously. I sure did. I spent a lot of my time reading critiques of Japan in English, convincing myself I had this place figured out. My plan was to be gone in a year and back to a life that was going to turn out exactly as planned, until that life suddenly wasn't there anymore. And the only advice that made sense came from a friend who'd been dealt a similar hand, who reminded me that the first rule of tightrope walking is to hang on to what you've got. And suddenly, my toehold in a country that I'd been so busy finding fault with, that's all that stood between me and the abyss. And that's when I really appreciated something my dad used to say. He was the last of 10 kids, born in the middle of the Great Depression, both parents up there in years. And he liked to joke, "Hey, I'm just glad to be here." And suddenly I figured it out. He wasn't joking. And when you're in Japan, be glad that you're here. Hi, I'm Mark. I call it Japan Unhurried because I planned to be in Japan for just 1 year 40 years ago. I've since received Japan's Foreign Minister's Prize, the highest international recognition for Japanese language ability. And I cringe at the number of times that I nearly blew it all by insisting on figuring it out for myself. Here's 4 more things I wish someone had told me on day 1 not to figure out for myself. In fact, I'm sure they did. I just needed to work on the listening skills. Lesson 2. Language fluency isn't the door. Humility is. I see foreigners trying to blend in and be Japanese. It's not going to happen. You're not going to make people comfortable because you sound perfect. I was in Japan post office the other day at the banking counter, and there was this non-Japanese employee there, Filipino, I think, scurrying about, making sure every customer was taken care of, addressing everyone crisply in polite, perfect Japanese, even me. And it was weird. It's like watching a talking mannequin. And I wanted to say, dude, chill. You can talk to me in English. It won't kill you. You're different. Just accept it. I used to be uptight like that about myself, worried about people's reaction when I, showed up on the scene. This was back when I'd be the only non-Japanese from miles around, and I could start a small riot. I eventually learned to embrace the surprise. I knew people would tense up, and when it was my turn in line, I'd simply just say to the person on the other side of the counter in a low voice, "Chotto, Nihongo de ii desu ka?" Excuse me, is it okay to speak Japanese with you? And often the other person would just burst out laughing and relief. Yeah, of course it is. And suddenly we'd be best of friends and hilarious cahoots, and people looking at us like, what's going on with these two? I used it the other day in Tokyo when I found someone's wallet on a park bench. Walked into the local police precinct. Worked like a charm. Great line for starting conversations with women too. Just saying that. Another scene. I'm about to enter a restaurant. You can see the staff jockeying to get out of the way. It's your turn. No, it's your turn. And so I stick my head to the north end. That's the hanging half-length curtain there at the entrance. And I call out in a loud voice, "Chotto haite ii desu ka?" Is it okay to come in? Well, what's the manager going to say? Well, of course. And you're not and usually personally take care of me and make sure I was happy and ask me to come back. So it's a win-win. So use your ability, whatever you think of it, to express humility. It takes the tension out of almost any situation. Learning Japanese. Get used to the sound. Connect to the meaning. Don't start learning Japanese until it stops sounding strange until you catch yourself imitating words and phrases, even if you have no idea what they mean, but hey, they sound cool. One of my first was the subway stop at the National Parliament building in Tokyo. Kokai Gijidomae. For some reason, I used to dig that name. I was living near Ikebukuro Station and would take the Red Line subway into City Central. And so pretty much once a day, I'd pass Kokai Gijidomae. And so one day I decided to get out and see what was there at my favorite train station. Welp, trees, a stone cupola on the Parliament building in the distance, long sidewalks. That was about it. Oh, and some guards at the entrance to a long driveway. No way I was getting into that place. So I moved on from Kokai Gijidomae. Found another phrase to dig. The best way to start connecting sound with meaning? Watch things you don't need language to understand. Side Ikebukuro I lived on was a real working class neighborhood. Shitamachi, they call it. Everybody knows each other. It's like a big small town. There was a woman who ran a store there, Kimiko. She could speak English. She had a son, Evan, by an American guy who she said, always traveling for work. I took that to mean that he'd walked out on her. She had a sister living with her who worked in a bar. Kimiko's plan was to move back to the States and raise Evan there, so she enrolled him at the local international school. To help foot the tuition, Evan worked as a child model and actor in a TV school drama named Wakasa Gakuen Monogatari, Tales of Wakasa Academy. But the production schedule was pretty tough, and he was struggling to keep up with the homework, so Kimiko asked if I could help a little. So I'd go over there once a week. She'd cook for us. Evan and I would have dinner, do homework, and then watch Doraemon. It's a cartoon about an AI-powered robot cat from the future with a solution for every scrape that his gang of kid friends got themselves into. I couldn't understand what was being said, but the plots were easy to follow, and I picked up a lot of words. Even better, how and when and with what intonation to use them. So by the time I started studying Japanese, I'd heard it all, seen a lot, and figured out, the first few connections. And so it was like putting pieces of a puzzle together. I'm a Doraemon fan to this day. I'd love to know what became of Kimiko and Evan. If you're out there, let me know. I miss you guys. Hey, if this is resonating, if you're here to understand Japan, not just visit it, do me a solid and hit like, subscribe. I'm sharing what 40 years has taught me and making sure you catch on the first bounce. All right, on to the last two. Lesson 4, Japanese food. Let it grow on you. Pretty much every Japanese food I love today, I found repulsive at first. Rice with nothing on it? I'd smother it with butter. Cooks at my first company dorm must have thought I was an absolute barbarian. Now, nothing beats the fresh cooked rice that we get from a small family farm up in Niigata Prefecture. Burnt fish for breakfast? I'll eat it every day. Anpan is another. That's the sweet black bean paste in a roll or croissant. FOBs mistake it for chocolate all the time, and it's great watching their faces when they bite in and realize it isn't. I remember sitting with my girl, now my wife, at a Japanese bakery in the Daikanyama section of Tokyo. A lot of expats lived there, and this American couple, clearly just off the plane, wanders in. The husband's eyeing the pastries, and some of them chocolate, some of them anpan, some of them vanilla, some of them anpan. The wife says in deadpan, "Careful, it's almost never as good as it looks." My girl and I grin at each other, and she says, "Mikake hodo oishiku nai." It's not as good as it looks, or not as delicious as it looks. And that became a byword between us to this day. Ask how something turned out, and one of us will say either mikake hodo, which means not as good as I thought, or mikake yori, better than I anticipated. Give Japan time. Mikake hodo will become mikake yori. Lesson 5. Ready or not, memories happen, so just step out. I'll never forget the day I signed for the apartment in Kobe, Japan. My family was going to stay there so the kids could attend international school while I was stationed at the Panasonic factory out in Shikoku, coming home on the weekends. After the realtor left, I decided to take a walk around the new neighborhood, check it out. It was late August and a summer break, and wandered into a harborside park. Families everywhere. I saw one group finishing up a picnic, crowding together for a kinen shashin, a commemorative photo of the occasion, and taking turns at who was taking the picture so nobody got left out of the memory. New in the neighborhood, I decided I'd try to be neighborly. Went over and offered in Japanese to take the picture so everybody could be in it. They're of course happy to accept the offer, and as I was turning to go, one of the more outgoing women there asked where I was from. I think she expected me to name a country. Instead, I pointed up the street and answered truthfully, "Asoko no mansho no 13 gai. I live there on the 13th floor." She said, "Oh really? I live in the next building." I said, "Really? My wife is moving in here next week and needs some friends." She gave me her phone number. They became best friends, shopping buddies. Our kids became best friends, Pikachu buddies. We all remain in touch to this day. They've become my support group in my battle to hang on to my eyesight. Sometimes I just gotta sit back and wonder. 2 generations of family and friendship, all from the single click of a shutter of a disposable camera. Wow. God and Japan work in mysterious ways. Come to Japan looking for what you expect, and you'll definitely find it. But stick around long enough, and it will show you things you didn't even know you were looking for. That's what makes Japan a relationship, not just a destination. That's why I'm still at it, 40 years later, still learning, in no hurry to miss out on the best of what Japan has to offer. Thanks for watching.